Hi there, welcome to the Christian Media Marketing Show. My name is John, and I am the owner of Kavanaugh Media, which is a social media marketing agency. We work just with Christian organizations, Christian mission teams, and churches. We're getting close to 80 different countries, over 18 different mission orgs that we've been able to partner with, and I am thankful for each one of them. I'm thankful for you today to watch this show. Now, GNPI, Good News Productions International, out of Joplin, Missouri, they helped me put this show on, and I am always grateful for them, for the whole team there, for allowing me to do the research and to put this video training out there. Today's episode 20 of that, and we're going to do some deep diving into a specific type of tool that I hope that you can use in your Christian media marketing. If this is your first time watching this show, this is how we do it here. We try to answer a few questions at the beginning of people that are sending us messages, and then we go into a video training portion of it. Sometimes it's recorded if I have to blur out some stuff for security reasons, but regardless, we go into that deeper training, and then I try to answer questions if you have any, even while I'm doing the show. Now, if you're watching this or you can't make the show each Tuesday at 10 a.m., then you can watch it recorded on our website as well. They're on KavanaughMedia.com. All right, and so thank you for joining me today. If you have a comment, go ahead and type that in. Hopefully, I never know for sure if the software is going to work right on that, if the comments are going to come in. So feel free to comment, to like, to put some sort of an emoticon in there. All right, a little thumbs up, whatever, if you're watching on it. Appreciate that. Share this if the training is there. We do this. This is part of why we exist, is to try to help. And I'm just going to start with a little bit of that background, and then we're going to answer some questions today. We started this whole thing of using media marketing because we believe it's a powerful tool for right now. But I also believe that things are changing very, very fast. And so we put this show on, we put out the podcast every week. And when I say we, I mean we, because there's a team of us here at Kavanaugh Media. I sometimes am a face, but there are other people that are working very hard who are helping us try to do whatever we can to make Jesus famous, especially in the places where he is not yet known. And so when it's been a few years ago, next week, I think it's next week, I've got some blood work I'm going to do, just routine things, because a few years ago, I got my cancer diagnosis. And for me, starting this company was the number one way to get back in the game, to use every day we have and use every tool we have to be able to make the biggest impact possible for Jesus. So I'm thankful for each day of life. I don't let that go by when I think about these things, and I hope that you don't either. Now, I feel the pressure of this. I hope that the training today is going to help you. I feel the pressure at times to try to provide the answers, and to be honest with you, it's a little overwhelming at times because there's a lot of those challenges that are out there. And the question that I want to address today is one of those big ones, because I'm getting just hit with this issue popping up over and over and over. And so this is what's happening when people are getting started using Facebook and somewhat Google as well. All right. So what's happening is many people are want to get into this, and this is not as simple of, hey, just start a Facebook page and run an ad. Maybe that was true a few years ago. It's not true now. Okay, that's actually just not good advice. There's several things that need to take place, and there's a lot that needs to be done right if you want to see long-term success. And part of this is the cost to it. Part of it is the cost of learning. That's why we do this show. That's why we do the podcast, because it's always changing. So please hear me. I'm going to try to give you the best advice I have for today, all right? But it's sometimes changing that's out there. Here's the number one question that I'm being asked really just this week and in the last few weeks, and that is simply, what is Facebook looking at when they review an ad? Because we have accounts of people who are going on their own, setting up their own Facebook business accounts, setting up the pages, trying to do all of that. And then they come back and they're like, hey, we've been shut down or we've been disabled or whatever. There's verification of individuals, which is something I think is not going to go away. In fact, I would predict, I'm not being a prophet, but I would predict within the next year, 2 years or so, that to use a lot of these tools, you're going to have to verify your identity. And people will be like, forget that. I'm not giving them this or that. Okay. I'm not trying to convince people to use Facebook or Instagram or Google or whatever. I don't get a kickback from them. I don't even care. Okay, I just want to use whatever tool we can to make Jesus famous. And when you've got close to 2 billion people out there using it, then that seems like a pretty smart place to be. All right. And so what is Facebook looking at? Well, they're looking at who are the people using it. So that is the verification process, which some teams and churches and people are running into. You've got to verify your identity. Many times you have to verify the people that are on it. So if you start using a VPN, that's going to pop something up. If you've got people in other countries where it doesn't say that's where you should be operating from, like you say, we're a US thing, and then all of a sudden you pop up in Bongo or wherever, right? That's going to bring up some red flags. So that's part of that. But there's also the issue that comes into then an ad. When you run an ad, you're going to see when you hit the publish button, it's going to say in review. So what is Facebook looking at when they review an ad? Well, let me give you some pictures here. You're running the Facebook ads, and they're looking at policies. They're looking at everything that they have set up. And here's the thing, their policies change. So it's important for you to look at their advertising policies. All of your ads need to comply with that. And then there's other policies that they have. There's ones if you're running an app, so there's developer policies, there's pages and event policies. If you were doing some sort of e-commerce, or if you're trying to raise money by selling something for your nonprofit or your church or whatever, there's commerce policies that go into it. And then there's also Facebook community standards. And that Facebook community standard is another one that gets people. All right, so they're looking at your ads, and they're looking at this whole process of to see, okay, what's happening when you do that. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty confident that they're looking even just at your track record. How many other ads have you ran? It doesn't mean that you're just going to get away with something. You always have to follow the standards, but when you have a track record, you've been consistently running ads, and you've been spending consistently, that shows credibility, all right? And it gives you a track record for them to be able to come back and to look at. There's also then even just the issue of the ads once they're running, of the account quality. And I'm going to do a live training on that here in a couple of weeks, of this idea of looking at your ads. What's the feedback? Are you getting lots of angry stuff? What's the feedback that's happening on your ad? What's the account quality that's happening? But then when the ad goes into this review, there's this whole process. And the first one is just this automated review that takes place. So they have algorithms that are looking at the ad. They're looking for keywords. They're looking for visual things, violence, whatever else. This is why that sometimes some of our ads get flagged, and it's this automated. It's the algorithm. It's machine learning. Okay, it's not necessarily a person sitting there looking at everything. It's the computers who are doing it. Then, in some cases, it will get reviewed by a person. If you've ran an ad and it gets approved, and then 24 hours later it gets disapproved, that means probably a human looked at it. So then the ad might get rejected. If so, edit it, or just request a review, or the ad is allowed to run. And if the ad is denied, be kind. Type in there. It may tell you. It's frustrating. I get it. They don't always tell us why. It just says it broke some community standard and stuff. So that's a big one that comes into it. But they're looking at your ad, the language on it, the copy, the headline. They're looking at your landing page. If you're putting a link on there, they're looking at the link. That's why I said in last week's episode, do not be using things like Bitly or link shorteners. That's almost an automatic just red flag to get you the ad rejected, or maybe even your account disabled. All right, so they're going to look at all of that, but there's different people in different places. This is why I have people that I know that sit there and say, well, hey, we've been fine. We've ran this ad with this language. Well, it just may mean that somebody hasn't looked at it yet, or maybe they're not reviewing it. Maybe there's not a human reviewer in the language you're running it in. But being positive, running the right types of ads. You can't run an ad saying, "Hey, are you depressed and feel like like ending it all?" Like, there's no way. That's not going to get approved. That is why I like Holy Spirit fruit marketing. Talking about what is the need that people have, and then being able to put that to what the fruit itself of the Holy Spirit looks like. All right. And so this is where empathy comes into it. This is where patience, this is where listening and just being intelligent about what we're doing with them, and then showing compassion. I call it EPIC. All right. That's the EPIC there. But the compassion part comes back to being like Jesus when we share with people. So don't be frustrated if your ads get rejected. Review them, look at them, make sure you're keeping up on the standards that you're seeing. All right. Thank you, Sandra, there for your kind words. Appreciate it. But be looking at what you're doing, and also don't be frustrated if sometimes your content gets blocked. Just go back in and review, ask for the review on it. I'll give you an example. Some content of the crucifixion. In some places, the videos got blocked because they said it was violent. Well, it was violent. It was Jesus dying on a cross. There's little things you can do. Change the snapshot, the still image that goes with that video. Try that. Try just different things. Try them to see if you can get them approved. And go back into them. It's not necessarily that they're out there just going, "Oh, this is Christian, let's stop this," or whatever. But they're looking at these and looking at everything through the filter of their community standards. Okay? So hopefully you can do that. I will tell you one other little thing to it is, if you get an ad and you just won't get accepted, just go ahead and delete it. If it goes to human review, I don't know what all they see. Obviously, they're not telling us everything. But for me, if I get an ad and I just can't get it approved, I delete that ad. All right. So I just don't even want it on my record. I don't want it visible in the ads manager even later on. Okay. So hopefully that gives you some idea of what they're looking at. Make sure things are consistent, both on the landing page, on your ad, all of this. Okay. And we'll look more in detail on this in a couple of weeks. All right. We're going to dive into the live training now. And I want to show you how to do an A/B test. An A/B test is when you have one variable and you are testing. Say it's the video, or it's the headline, or it's the audience. The reason why an A/B test is so good is because when you run it, like with Facebook, you're able to really look at what effect does that one variable have. And the beautiful thing of it is that then Facebook will show that one variable to 50% and to the other 50%, and there's no audience overlap. Okay, that's key. You can run two ads at the same time, but you might have the same person seeing both ads if you're doing it yourself. But when you run an A/B test, it makes sure there's no audience overlap. Now, I will tell you, even as we're getting started here, there are ways where you can test multiple things. Please don't do that. All right, I went through grad school at the University of Missouri. One of the hardest courses I had to take was statistics, because that's why I went into ministry, was because math's hard for me. And I had to learn, and as I did research and wrote papers and worked on all my grad degree there, to do all sorts of statistical analysis, things like chi-square and ANOVAs and things like that, all right? Even if you don't know how to do that, who wants to do that, okay? I have done A/B tests. I have done multivariant tests. I did one time where I had 50 different variables, and it was ridiculous. Please don't do that. Test one thing. Just test one thing when you do an A/B test. Just be testing. Don't go crazy on these things. Test something. Maybe it's you want to test the picture or 2 different videos or 2 different websites. I don't know what you want to test, but just test one thing when you get into it. All right. So let's dive into the training and let me show you how to do it. Now, there's a few different ways that you can do an A/B test. And the first one I want to show you is just through the experiment tab itself. And so when you are in business.facebook.com, you're in your Facebook business account, there's what's called your hamburger menu. All right, these 3 bars right up here. When you click on that, that's going to show you all the things that are available on your page that you can be looking at. All right, so there's a ton of stuff. And if you look down here, here's experiments. All right, so you go to your account and then you click on experiments and it's going to open up this page. Now, there's some things here where they've said this isn't working. And I don't know why it's still on the screen, but they haven't taken it off. I think it's so that they can blame Apple here for it. But there's 4 things. If you click down here at this more, you're going to notice there's one more. I don't know why they hide that either. All right, but let's look at these 3 that are possible. Let's start down here. Campaign budget optimization test allows you to test between using, say, campaign budget optimization or not. That basically sits there and says you've got multiple ads or multiple ad sets running. We're going to put more money towards the ones that seem to be doing better. I don't ever use this. I don't like it. I don't think it's to a point where it understands what I'm trying to do. Yes, a cold audience might not get as many clicks as a warmer audience, but that doesn't mean that I want to stop advertising to them. I just feel like that it moves the budget too fast to polarization, period. Brand survey. All right, this is Brand Lift. I never use these either because this is just an estimate. I love data because data, if you use it correctly, you can misuse data. All right, but if you use it correctly, it can be a really good mirror to look at stuff. It can be a really good microscope to dive into something. Data can be really powerful. Well, when it's just an estimate, when it's their guess, that doesn't help me at all. So I don't use this Brand Lift, those kind of things. So I wouldn't use this one. I wouldn't use this one. We can't use this one. So all that's left is this, the A/B test itself. Now, notice this right here, recommended for you. Don't forget that Facebook markets the marketers. So does Google. Every week I get emails or phone calls from Google wanting to talk to me about things, okay? And then I've talked to them a few times and I'm like, what a waste of time. So I don't, just know that they're going to be marketing. They're always trying to get you to spend more or use more. That's not my thing. We do this. This was one of the core things when GMPI and us here at Kavanaugh talked about this show was we're thinking about the groups, the churches, the mission teams who don't have a lot of money. Okay, and so how do we help those smaller groups? And so I want to maximize your money. So don't be surprised when you see these things here, okay? So then what we could do is I could click Get Started. And then now it's going to give me the test setup. I can create a duplicate version to compare against an ad or campaign that's already running. I can compare existing ads. All right, so that's the 2 choices as I'm getting in here. If I use new version, then it's going to ask me to pick the campaign that I want to duplicate. So let's say I did this one, which is one we're running in Taiwan right now, and it's a messaging one. Well, then it tells me these are the variables, the thing that I could test. I can't test an image because it's a video, so I could test another video here. I could test the age and gender. I could run an ad for younger people versus older, male versus female. I could test different audiences, saved audiences that I've created. I could use this, I won't, but I could, the campaign budget optimization. So not everything is a variable that you can test. So that's one thing to look at, okay? So I could do it this way, and if I did, and I could pick which variable, so I could say I want to test the video, All right, and so then it would bring up the video, and then I could put a different video in here that I would want to use, and then I could choose my budget, my time, and then what is the determinant to let me know if one is better than the other one. And so then you come down here and you can say cost per result. Well, we're not doing per purchase, so that wouldn't be there. Or you could do standard events. So there's cost per view, page like, whatever you might be doing there. All right, here's landing page view. So it just depends on what your objective was when you set the ad up. So here's a few other ones then that you could also look at. Finally, if you use this way of doing it, this estimated test power is telling you how good this test might be. Like how much confidence can you have in the results? All right, and so with this one, it's saying 77%, all right, of a chance to figure that one thing is more important than the other one. If you play with the budget, if you play with the timing, that will affect your test power there to a degree. All right, so we could set that up, put a different variable, and then we would just review the test details, and then we would hit publish. We would start it. You can also see then all of your results by clicking over here. All right, so that's one way to get into tests. You can also just do this by comparing ads. If you had campaigns several grouped together, that would be this one, or on the campaign level or the ad set level, and then you could pick those. You could come down, you could name the tests. It's pretty much the same process, okay, to go through that. This is in the experiment tab area. So how to do that A/B test. That's one, all right? Another one, I'll go to the next tab, is if we come in here and we can duplicate an ad. So here's that same messaging one. I could come under here and I could hit duplicate. Now I want to tell you, just for as a side to this with the training, is that I use this a lot when I'm not changing my audience. I'll come into this and hit duplicate. And then it's going to open up and say how many copies, and then show existing reactions, comments, and shares. Well, if I change the ad, they're not going to show up anyway. Or if I just duplicate and then go in and completely change, a lot, that's not going to do that. But look at this. Here's the create a duplicate to A/B test. And then the variable is what I make in my change in this ad. So I would click create a duplicate to A/B test, and then I'm going to hit duplicate. So now here is the new ad right up here. This is the one that's currently running. So then I could do and just change the name and say A/B test or whatever. I would usually put what it is that I'm testing in the title up there. Now I could go through and I could go in here and I could change the ad set for it. I could change like where are we sending these messages to. I could do that. I could come in here and change the budget, the end and start date. I could mess with the audiences. All right, so there's a lot we could do. Or I can jump over here to the ad itself and begin to make some changes here. So in this place, I could change the video, just like we were doing in the other way of doing it. So I could change the video. I could change the headline or the text. The text comes up here, your copy or headline down here. All right. I could change the call to action button. So there's a lot. I could also change even the message template. So this one right here says, 我们如何为你祷告? How can we pray for you? So we're just asking people to tell us how we can pray for them, which as a side note, it's been really cool. In fact, you may hear it ding even on my computer today as we're hearing these messages coming in. We have seen people who have, for example, one person who was in a gang and said, that's it, and wanted out of a gang and wanted a Bible and wanted to talk to somebody. That's just awesome. I love it. So you could change down here this message template, and that could be another variable. Maybe you want to test if you just leave it open, or if you give them an option to pick one or two or three things. all of those are things that we could put on here, and then we would hit the publish button. And then we would have our A/B test going. All right, so that's another way we could do it. Now I'm going to discard this draft because I didn't make any changes and don't want it to do that. All right, so we're going to discard all of that. And then I want to show you one other way to do it. So the other way we could create an A/B test is to come in here and just create a new ad. And if we were to do that, we would hit the green create button. Let's say we want to test 2 different landing pages. So I would hit traffic. I would come down here. I would give it a name. Give it a name. Hit continue. All right. Now, when you get into this, see, here's more marketing over here, more boxes popping up. When you get into it, here is the button here for an A/B test. This is a third way that you could do it. In the old days, you would create both ads at the same time. Now, you create one ad, you hit publish, and then you go in and create other versions, comparing it to this original ad. So if we were going to do that, I could click Get Started right here. And then here's that campaign budget optimization. I'm leaving that off. And then we would go into next. Here's where we start making just the regular ad. Everything is the same here. So all the things we're doing, the budget, what audience, where do we want to run it, any kind of interest targeting, any language, all of those things. Okay, so this one's set up to go to everyone in the United States right now. But let's go over here then. We would create the ad. We would go through just like any other kind of ad. Okay, this is the same process of creating it. Then we would hit the publish button. Once we have created the ad and hit the publish button, then it's going to come up and give us the option to do the next ad for our A/B test. All right, so whether you do it as, and I'm going to discard this one too. All right, so whether you do it as an experiment, which is a fine way to do it, whether you do it as coming into a campaign and hitting duplicate and then running the A/B test, or you come in and you hit the green create button and then choose A/B. And either one of those ways, that is going to be an option for you to be able to do a test of something. Maybe it's the headline you want to test. Maybe it's the video. Maybe it's the audience. Maybe it's the placement. Maybe you want to test desktop versus mobile. There's a lot of options that are there. So as I tell people all the time, play with things. Test yourself. See what's working, and then keep doing more of those things. If it doesn't work, then put it on a shelf, come back to it, and check it later. All right, I hope that has been a benefit for you today. As always, if you have questions, please reach out to us. I'll do my best to get back to you. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed at times with the messages and the dings because it seems like people work at really weird hours, and I'm going to have to do better at just turning off my ringer and possibly just turning my phone off. So I'll do my best to get back to you in a reasonable amount of time. Okay, so you can always go to our website, send us a message through there. I would love for you to be listening to our Christian Media Marketing podcast. You can get that on Apple, through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of the ones that you use. If you type in Christian Media Marketing, you're going to see our podcast on there. If you listen to it, if you subscribe to it, and I hope you do, I would love to get your 5 stars because it really, it does matter. Same thing with this video show. If it's not a benefit, if it's not helping, if it's not something that you want to keep seeing, then we don't want to keep doing it. So hopefully you'll subscribe to this, that you'll watch it, you'll participate, and I hope that you'll share with others about it as well. The more we can share what's working around the world, the better we can help everyone, who either those getting started or those who've been doing it for quite a while, because we all are learning. We all are trying to figure things out. I just have my little swim lane, my area that I spend a lot of time in, and I trying to continue to learn there myself. So whatever we can learn, we want to help you. Please let us know how to do that. As always, thanks for listening to the podcast, watching this show, and for everything you're doing to help make Jesus famous. We appreciate you, and we appreciate all you're doing in Jesus' name. Until next time, take care.